I know the theme of the night is love, unconditional and otherwise. My story is actually about a love that has some very, very clear conditions. Those conditions being that if I said anything stupid, put my hand in the wrong place, or even looked at the apple of my eye the wrong way, I was probably going to get punched in the face. Now, to tell you the story properly, though, we have to go back in time to a magical time, 2004. Back when, to be on Facebook, you actually had to have a .edu email address, and Shrek was still a bigger deal at the movies than any superhero movie, and the Motorola Razr was like the kind of cell phone we couldn't even fathom. It was during that time that I was preparing for my senior prom, and I actually had it all figured out, y'all. Like, I've been saving up my money at my part-time jobs at Burger King and GameStop, and selling credit cards over the phone to people who absolutely should not have credit cards. And I was ready. I had the perfect tux, the perfect limo, the perfect post-prom Cedar Point package, which was a tradition if you grew up in Northeast Ohio like I did, growing up in Cleveland. And most importantly, I had the best accessory that any high school boy could ever ask for prom. I had a date with a girl who went to a different school. Because when you got that, as soon as you walk in the prom place, it's like, oh my gosh, who's that? Who's that? Is she famous? Is she royalty? Now, there might be one or two people who probably said, did Justin bring his cousin to prom? But once they figured out that wasn't the case, you'd be the man. So I was naturally very, very excited. So one day, a good friend of mine, her name is Kirby, she came up to me, you know, just in the planning process. Everyone's talking about prom, and I've known Kirby since before kindergarten. We're like family. She says, Justin, do you have a date for the prom? I explained to her my excitement, like I just explained to you. And she said, awesome, great. I need you to dump her because I got a better date for you. I said, woman, are you crazy? She says, no, you got to dump that girl. I got someone better for you. So naturally, I asked, okay, who? She says, I can't tell you that. You got to just trust me. So because I do trust her and I love her and she's family, I said, fine, Kirby, I'm going to do this, but you know that in the process, I'm going to have to break a young girl's heart. So I take the difficult task of going to my current date and, you know, meet up with her. We work together at the place where we shouldn't have been selling credit cards to people in high school. And I said, I know you've been waiting for this, counting down the days, circling it on your calendar to go to prom, but something came up and I'm not gonna be, before I could even finish my sentence, she says, okay, fine, bye, poof. She was gone. I actually haven't heard from her since. So I don't know if she was as excited about it as I was. But at any rate, I put my prom fate in Kirby's hands, and she still wouldn't tell me who my date was. So I'm still making my arrangements. I get my tux all finalized, the limo finalized. Didn't really go for the Cedar Point thing because I don't know who I was going to prom with, and I didn't know if I wanted to stand in line for the Millennium Force with this person. But she finally tells me, with 2 weeks or something left before prom actually happens, who my date is. And she tells me that it's a girl who can't stand me. This girl absolutely despises me. And she actually accepted the date with those conditions that I explained at the beginning. She said, if Justin touched me, look at me the wrong way, or say anything stupid, I'm going to punch him in the face. Great. So me and my new prom date finally meet and talk about everything that's supposed to happen. And I know it seems like a prickly way to accept a prom date, but I got to be honest, this girl, it was kind of my fault that she was this way to me. To explain why, we have to go back to when I first met her. I was a sophomore in high school, and she was a freshman, and I met her in our art class. And I still remember the first day she walked into our art class. It was like all those corny sitcoms or like teenage movies. You're sitting in class, beautiful girl walks into class. It's like she's walking in slow motion to get to her desk. You hear a song playing in your head. For me, the song that was playing was More Than Words by Extreme. Don't judge me, you love that song. So I hear More Than Words in my head. All you have to do to make it real. I get up out of my desk and do what any sophomore boy would do. I walk over, I introduce myself, and I immediately start picking on her. Because what do dumb boys do in school? They find a girl they like and they start picking on them because they're idiots. And, you know, could be the stupidest things. She gets an A in our class. I lean over and say, oh, you couldn't stretch for that A+. Just the stupidest stuff. And for some reason, it didn't go my way. But we actually developed an ebb and flow because I dished it out and she dished it right back. So that became the way we communicated. For example, I was on the football team in high school, and on game days we would wear our jerseys. I could come into art class wearing my jersey. She'd lean over and say, no, that jersey looks awful clean. Probably stay clean by the end of the game because you're not getting in. She was right, I wasn't getting in. But that's not exactly your ideal prom date. Yes, I still liked her a whole lot, but I was a little bit worried. But we talked it out. She explained what color she was wearing. I explained when I'd pick her up, and we just went into this prom date with no real expectation of this being more than just doing a favor for our mutual friend Kirby. So we get to this prom date, and halfway through our first electric slide together, we realized that this is actually a really great first date. Actually, this is probably the best first date that I've ever been on. So we said, okay, let's try it again. We have a second date, and a third date, and a fourth date. Next thing you know, we're late in high school sweethearts. And you start dating, but the problem was I was in the twilight years of my high school career. I was getting ready to move here to Indiana to go to Purdue University. She was going to stay, of course, in Cleveland to finish up her senior year of high school and then go to Kent State. And we said, you know what we have is great, and we don't want to let all this young high school and college stuff get in the way and ruin the essence of what's us. So after trying the long distance for a while, we decided to go our separate ways, fall in love with different people, live life under a different set of conditions. And we stayed in touch, but only kind of that surface staying in touch, like on Facebook, birthdays, holidays, graduations, relocations, send a message, hey, good to hear from you, that kind of stuff. But we always did stay in touch, even through our new relationships and our new lives. But I hadn't actually seen her in person in a long time after we called it quits. In fact, the first time I saw her after we broke up was in 2011 when my father passed away. And it was one of those whirlwind cancer diagnoses. It was, he diagnosed in June. A month after his birthday, he was gone by September. So it was a very, very quick turnaround. And I remember being there the day that he passed with my mom and my sister, and calling all my friends who knew him, who I grew up with, and went down my phone, called everybody, and I called her as well. And the first person and the only person who showed up at the hospice that day was her. I have no idea, I didn't know she was in Cleveland. She didn't explain what she was doing at the time, but she dropped everything and she was there, not only for me, but for my mom and for my sister. And I remember seeing her, hugging her for the first time in years, looking into her eyes for the first time in years. I'll never forget that. Now, I know you're probably thinking this is the point of the story where we actually get back together and reignite that love. That didn't happen. I went back to my life in Indiana. She continued living her life in Cleveland. We went our separate ways. But I always remembered that. So a few years pass, and I start feeling nostalgic, and I find myself single again. So I take a chance and actually call her, which actually calling somebody in this day and age is like, whoa, you're calling me, why didn't you text? So I call her, and we get to talking, and then, you know, next time I visit Cleveland to see my mom and sister, I might stop by and visit to see her. If she's going through the area to another part of the Midwest, she might stop by and visit me here. Next thing you know, we're having a date. One date turns into two, two into three, three into four, and we're back together. And things just kind of fell into place. I was living in Lafayette, working for the Lafayette Journal and Courier at the time, and her job had an opportunity to extend some new positions to Indianapolis. She's like, is that weird? I'm like, no, just, you know, you can crash with me at the time for, you know, until you find a place in Indy while I'm in Lafayette. Next thing you know, we're living together, and we're living together for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So after 4 years of living together and being back together, her last birthday comes up. Feeling nostalgic, so I want to do something special. We decided to take a quick nostalgia tour through our old neighborhood that we grew up in together. And we grew up in the same school district since day one. So we went to our elementary school, intermediate school, our middle school. There's a place called Tinker's Creek in Bedford, Ohio, which was like the cheesy de facto place you take your date if you're in high school. It's like a nature walk with a little waterfall. We took pictures and all that stuff. Then the last stop, of course, I wanted to go to the high school, the place where we first met. So we get done driving all day, and we finally get to the high school, and I'm like, you know, I want to take a picture in front of the high school with her. So we park. I turn to her and say, hey, let's get out and take a picture in front of the high school together. And she says, no thanks, my feet hurt, I'm just going to stay in the car. I'm like, will you please? So I explained, baby, can you please get out and take a picture of me in front of the high school, because otherwise I'm out there by myself taking pictures, a grown man taking pictures in front of a high school. It's a good way for the cops to show up. You don't want that to happen to me, do you? So she says, fine. Oh my gosh, gets out the car. So our high school sign is in the middle of this giant, front lawn, and it had rained like crazy the day before. And it was her birthday, so she's kind of dressed up a little fancy. She's wearing these like crazy, like half suede black with a gold heel boots that she does not want to get muddy. And I'm walking her through the grass, step by step. She can't see my face because I'm a few steps in front of her, and I'm just cracking up because we're back at this high school, and I am making her absolutely miserable. This feels familiar. This feels good. This feels right. So, get in front of the high school, and force her to take a selfie. But I said, okay, take a picture of me in front of the high school sign. She takes my phone. She takes a picture. So I say, take another one. I do another pose. All right, take another picture. I do another pose. Take another picture. I do another pose. I'm doing stupid stuff until I can start to see that vein coming up on the front of her forehead. The one I remember from art class. And I think, oh, here comes that punch she threatened me with back when she accepted my prom date. And I said, okay, all right. One more picture, and then we're all done. She says, fine. Raises her camera, and I get into my final pose. Now, sadly, I don't have a ring with me now, because she said yes. And the girl who first threatened to punch me in the face more than 17 years ago is sitting over there, and I plan to dodge her right hook for the rest of my life. So.